Now we begin the second part in this week's lesson on section 14.2 on third declension neuter nouns. And I want to take you to that example verse that we just looked at that will include some vocabulary words which you are learning now in vocabulary 14.1. And don't forget, you have a new vocabulary list now in week 7. I know there are a lot of words, new words each week, but that's part of learning a language, to continue to learn new words, new vocabulary words. If you don't know the words, then all the grammar in the world will not help. If you don't know the grammar, then knowing the words doesn't really help. So both have to go together, and we have to remain diligent at this task. Perhaps I should also add 1 Corinthians 15:58 to our key verse for this course. Not only we must Acts 14:22, but 1 Corinthians 15:58, let us remain faithful. And because in due course, we will receive the result of our labors to which God has called us. And that must be our first consideration. If God calls us to a task, then we should be faithful in doing it, because it will bear fruit, because He has promised to bear fruit through us. I'm going to share that screen again with you, and we notice this verse taken from John 10, verse 19, and we notice right away, oudeis, no one. Airo means to take away, or also it can mean to lift up. So that gives actually two different possible translations, and this is actually John 15. It's correct. John 10:19. No one takes it from me, takes it away from me. Speaking of His life, no one. Oudeis. Aire is present tense. We learned these endings, o, es, a, as our very first verb endings in Greek 1. We didn't have we haven't had the verb airo yet, to take away or to lift up. I lift up, and in this case, he lifts up, or in this case, no one takes away. Altein, speaking of Zoe, that's the context, so he uses the feminine pronoun. No one, which we learned back in chapter 10, altein. No one takes it, altein, from me, the emphasized form of me. Ap, genitive case, takes the genitive case, apo. The omicron drops out because the next word begins with a vowel. So we just have this elision, I think, elizon, I think we call this, when a vowel drops out because the next word starts with a vowel. Up and move, away from me. No one takes it from me. But rather, Allah, again, we have elizon here with the vowel dropping out. Ego, I lay it down, I place it from myself, or in this case, by myself. Authority I am having to lay it down. This is an infinitive form of tithemi that we have not yet learned. We'll start learning in actually infinitives in the next chapter 15. No one, I have authority And notice exousia is placed first in the sentence. We say it is fronted. That is the technical term that we use in grammar. It is fronted for emphasis. I have authority. Authority I am having. I have authority to lay it down. To lay it down. And I have authority to take it up. To take it again. This commandment I received, elabon, para, tu patros mu, from para, my father, tu patros mu. Please don't translate from the father of me. That is too literal. I understand why students do that, but you need to also think about good English. I received this commandment from my father. Intole can mean commandment. It can also mean task or job. This task I received from my father to lay down my life and to take it up again in resurrection. He is referring to his death and to his resurrection. Notice we have a use of words that we have learned in our vocabulary, so we're not learning them for no reason, because they are used. And notice para, tu patros. Para with the genitive here also means from, but he uses a different preposition, para, instead of apo. And there was probably a reason for that, but we won't try to go there. This commandment, this job, this task I received, past tense, elabon, aorist tense, para, tu patros mu. Notice the genitive case of the article tu, that never changes. It's masculine. Tu patros, not patru. This is the third declension noun. Pater, genitive, patros. Again, it's important that you learn the genitive singular so you know you're dealing with a third declension noun. Noun, from my father. Now let's review again some of these third declension nouns and their forms in the nominative, the accusative, the genitive, and in the dative. Using this sequence, which, by the way, Dr. Campbell does not use. Most Greek teachers, as I was also taught, decline nouns with the nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative. Dr. McIver in our textbook has used the accusative first, and by doing so has given us a little device, sa o si, es as on sin, that helps us easily to remember the endings of the third declension nouns. Same here, except that the sigma is joined with the kappa noun of nux to be of nukta, and because if we know the genitive singular, we will pick up on that key consonant, which is kappa with this noun, and kappa plus sigma becomes xi, nux. Sa, but notice sa o si es as on sin. But again, the sigma joined with kappa to become nuxin with a dative plural. We've looked at these words before, and so we need to move now to the, we had also third declension nouns with stems that end in a roll. They take some special forms in their stem. aner, and then the vocative, husband or man, in addressing man, a man in general, aner instead of aner. So that's the vocative singular. The vocative plural hardly ever looks any different from the nominative case. So they're actually always the same. Except here, I notice for the first time, meritere, the vocative plural of mother, mothers. And I'm thinking this is how the word Jesus, the form that Jesus used when he addressed mothers on his way to the cross in Luke's gospel, meritere. This is the first time actually I've noticed that the vocative plural is different from the nominative plural. But otherwise, our little device, saosi, generally holds up. It doesn't work here with the sigma in verb stems that end in a rho. In fact, there's no additional, with the stem ends in rho, there's no additional ending at all in the nominative and vocative. But otherwise, we have saos, si, aos, si, es, as, on, sen. And this is an example of words that also the stem ends in rho. We also looked at other third declension nouns that in section 14.1. And now our consideration is in particular neuter third declension nouns. And these are ones that we're going to be learning this week, new nouns, although some of them we have seen already. Phos, you learned, hopefully. I don't think we were tested in this class in Greek 1 on light. Jesus is the light. John 1:1-5 talks about, and in him was the light, ta phos. But it should immediately recognize phos as a neuter noun, ta phos. Two things that also Dr. Campbell points out that I point out for neuter third declension nouns is that instead of sa or si, the sigma will often, the endings of the third declension neuter nouns will often be alpha. And notice that there is a change in stem in the plural, nominative plural, as there is here with phos, but otherwise we still have alpha. And then the second thing is that typical for neuter nouns, the accusative is the same as the nominative, both the singular and the plural. The singular, the nominative, and the accusative are the same form. So that can sometimes cause some confusion, or at least we have to ask ourselves in the sentence, is the noun being used as the subject or as the direct object? It may not be obvious because the nominative and accusative forms for neuter words are the same. But we had that problem before with paidion. Paidion, child or infant, can be the subject or the direct object, the nominative case or accusative case. Phos is the same. Phota, phota, lights, plural. Light, lights. And as the direct object, still phos, light, and phota, lights. Now, otherwise, we have ossi, on sin. we have the second part of our little device for memorizing the endings of third declension nouns. That still fits. And so it still fits our little device here, even though the sigma part here, sigma and s and os, because neuter forms, the nominative and masculine, the nominative and accusative, sorry, are the same. This doesn't work, and this part doesn't work, but otherwise, we still have ossi and onsen to help us remember. And if we simply memorize the main vocabulary, and there are not so many neuter third declension nouns that are used 50 times or more in the New Testament. So this is actually, in this section, not such a hard job. But also remember the third thing that Dr. Campbell points out in his video segment is that we need to remember that neuter plural nouns take a singular verb. So instead of the ending a in the present tense, we will have, instead of the ending usi, sorry, the third person plural, we will have the singular a even with plural nouns, usually. Now, there's another thing I would like to point out at this point with regard to this word, pneuma, which means spirit or breath, or sometimes even life, but particularly spirit or breath or wind. It can have all of these meanings. And in fact, Jesus in John chapter 3 makes use of that fact by pointing out that the spirit is like the wind. And so actually the same word, the wind that blows, the spirit of God. And from this is also from the Old Testament, Ruach Adonai, the spirit of the Lord, can also be the breath of the Lord, and can sometimes be the wind, Ruach. So pneuma, this Greek word, spirit or wind or breath. But one thing that's important to remember, that just because pneuma is neuter, and so it takes the article ta pneuma, pneumata, sorry, pneumatos. I was looking for the genitive singular. It's down here this time. Pneumatos, ta. The article is ta because it's a neuter word. But just because this word is grammatically neuter does not mean that the Spirit of God is not a person. That would be, that's actually a foolish mistake to make, because there are many words. We speak about cities being feminine usually in English. They really, that doesn't mean that the city is actually a woman. It's just that we have that, for whatever reason, we have that device, and that in every language is different in that regard. But spirit, which of course is a he in English, is an it, pneuma. But that is neuter in Greek, but that does not mean that we say it, the spirit it. In English, we would translate the spirit he, because spirit is masculine in English. The fact that it's neuter in Greek does not mean that he's not a person. We have other words which are neuter in Greek, And there's no particular reason for the fact that they're neuter, except that they are, and we have to learn that. Again, knowing the nominative singular and the genitive singular will keep us from confusion, especially with words like ethnos, nation, or people, people group. Ethnos, ethnus, tall. So we know that this word is neuter, but we also know that it is third declension because of the way the genitive singular is formed. The same with this word genos, generation, or horror. So believe this should be horos. Let me check my textbook. You check your textbook, but I believe that the word for mountain is horos and not oros. This is from Dr. McIver's materials, and I believe that this is a mistake. And actually, one I was going to point out to him and forgot to do so. Horos is the Greek word for mountain. Notice the genitive is horus, horus. So in the lexicon, in the dictionary, we would have horos, horus, tall. So we know it is third declension, neuter. Again, Ossi Onsen. We still have the second part of our little device. Otherwise, we have it. We have this alpha ending, but with these words, we have a tendency to have os and the plural eta. Now, the other thing that we need to be careful about, and Dr. Campbell points this out, is that we don't confuse this os with second declension words. So ethnos is not like logos or oikos. It's not second declension, it's third declension. And again, how do we know that? If we know the genitive singular, then we will realize, this word, the genitive is not u, and the dative is not o with iota subscript. Instead, it is a third declension, and the endings are different, us and a, in this case. Now, before I look at the vocabulary, I want to take you to a homework assignment that is part of this week's assignment, and that is for you to complete pages 13, 14, and 15 of your personal notebook. I know that many of you don't like having to keep up with your personal notebook, and perhaps particularly because you have to print it out yourself. But it's a very small expense, I think, just to print out a few pages. So you need to print these out and you need to complete them. So if I share that particular screen with you, your Greek notebook, and I'll scroll down. I can do it the fast way. To pages, you should have actually filled in some of these already. Second declension nouns. These are first declension nouns. Here we have third declension nouns. And these actually, this should be blank, but it's not. I made a mistake here. So I'm not going to show you all of it. I suppose looking at it quickly won't hurt, although you are able to go back and forth. So I'm going to skip down here to what's called sigma types and vowel types. Now, Dr. McIver doesn't make a distinction in these third declension nouns that are between sigma types and vowel types. He just calls them all vowel types of third declension nouns. Whether or not you keep this distinction or even call them vowel types of third declension nouns is not really important to me. What is important is that I think that you get your notebook completed, that you take time to write in yourself these forms. For example, I've taken two words, ta kreos, which means meat, ta kreos, ta genos. In his video segment, Dr. McIver uses the word telos instead of genos. And then we have words feminine and masculine and feminine, and two different masculine words that you take the time to bring my spotlight back, that you take the time to fill out these tables so that later you will have a record. You can easily review the endings of these different third declension nouns. Notice we have masculine, feminine, neuter. We are learning the word onoma, ta onoma, the name. To onomatos, of the name. To patros, of the father, the genitive singular. We're learning these nouns, and we're also learning these os nouns like genos. And we also have polis. If we don't have it in this current vocabulary list, we have it coming very soon. Later in Greek 3 and 4, we will have the word for king, basileus. And so what I've done in this is my copy of my own personal notebook. I have also added other words like poimen and pais and mater. I've added additional blanks, which I haven't filled out yet. This is a copy of my own personal Greek notebook, my new one, not the one I did when I was in college. But I developed this new one also for your sake. With extra spaces to add other nouns that I meet and I'm not familiar with their how to decline them. So I want to leave the space to add those later. The adjective declensions, Dr. McIver actually introduces adjectives in his video segment, and I'm going to go ahead and let you watch that, even though in the textbook we don't yet have, did I say Dr. McIver? Dr. Campbell. Dr. Campbell, in his video segment, introduces third declension adjectives. We don't yet have third declension adjectives in our textbook. But we are used to adjectives like agathos, agathe, agathon, good, having the masculine and feminine and neuter endings. So it will come as no surprise. Here I have a space for adjectives which are alpha pure. It will come as no surprise that we have third declension adjectives, and we actually begin those on page 16. So you can go ahead and fill in page 16. And the reason you can go ahead and do this is because when you watch Dr. Campbell's video segment, he will actually give you these forms for pleon and alethes. And these are two examples, not only of third declension adjectives, but of third declension adjectives where the first form is both for masculine and feminine. So pleon can be an adjective for masculine or feminine nouns, and the neuter adjective is play on with omicron. Similarly, alethes, the word for true, alethes can be masculine or feminine. The true woman, he alethes gune, the true woman. The true man, ha alethes. I'm going to use anthropos this time. Ha alethes anthropos, the true man. Why alethes with anthropos? Because it is alethes can be masculine or feminine. The neuter alethes, true, the true infant, ta alethes paidion, the true infant. The neuter is alethes. The masculine and feminine is alethes. So he introduces you to adjectives. I'm not requiring you to know these now, but I'm letting Dr. Campbell introduce you to them now. Now, just to close out this second segment for week 2, you will have homework, of course, all of exercise 14.2. Because we have 3 hours of class, you should have plenty of homework, and you do. I always give you plenty of homework to help you learn. All of exercise 14.2, and also 2 Moodle quizzes for this week, and of course, video segments to watch. These 2, and then Dr. Campbell. There may be one other, I'm not sure at this point, but those are the main things. Keep on keeping on. Let me share my screen once again, and let's just look quickly at the vocabulary. In vocabulary 14.2. So this is in the section that we are learning this week. Notice the rough breathing with the word for blood. Haima. Haimatos is the genitive ta. So the word for blood in the New Testament is neuter. Haima. Haimatos, genitive singular. And it's ta. Ta haima, the blood. The word for will, wish, desire, thelema. Now, if we're not careful, we will think, this is a first declension feminine noun. It is not first declension, and it is not feminine. It is neuter. We know this because the ta is the dictionary article that goes with it. And the genitive is thelemetos, which tells us it's not first declension, it's third declension. Thelema, thelemetos, ta. Will, of will, genitive. The, neuter, tells us this word is will or wish or desire. It can have a range of meaning from a strong will to a wish, depending on the context. Ta, thelema, the will, the wish, the desire. Again, onema looks like a first declension feminine noun, but again, it is not first declension. It is not feminine. It is neuter. Onema, onematos. And don't get this confused with second declension noun. It is the genitive singular of onoma, name. Name to him Ioannes in John 1, verse 6. There came a man, onoma, auto, with dated, auto. The name to him, Ioannes. But this word onoma is a neuter word. Mountain, and I still think this word is horos, but I will need to check a textbook, another check your hard copy if it has oros or horos. I may be confusing this word with hora, the word for hour. If I am, I should have looked this up in the break and I didn't. If I am confusing it with hora, the word for noun, then a word for hour, sorry, then please leave this as it is. But somehow I have it in my head that the word for mountain is horos and not oros. In any case, it is third declension and it is neuter, tall, mountain, hill, or a relatively high elevated place. The Jews referred to the Judean hills, or Jerusalem is located, as mountains. And the mountain where God lives in the temple in Jerusalem is actually, for our understanding, built on a hill. We would use the word hill. But for them, it was a mountain. Mountains in the sense that we know them in Pakistan, in the north of Pakistan, in the Hindu Kush, or in the American Rocky Mountains, were unknown to the Jews, those kinds of high mountains. So they would refer to the hills also as mountains. Then, of course, this word we've talked about already, wind, spirit, or breath, pneuma, pneumatos, ta, the spirit, ta, pneuma. The word for fire is also neuter, pour, pluros, ta. Only occurs in the singular in the New Testament. So you don't have to learn any plural forms with this word because we don't have them in the New Testament. Rhema, rhematos, ta. This is the word that competes the most with logos. Logos also usually means word. Actually, it also has a very broad range of meaning. Word or account, even an account that a mathematical account that a banker keeps is a statement. Logos, but rhema is more of expression. The words intersect in meaning. They can be similar. They can be almost identical in their English meaning, but they also have differences. They can be used differently. So we have to be careful, but please notice that when a word starts with ro, it always has a rough breathing. So the sound is rhema, rhematos, rhema, rhema, ta, neuter. Also the meaning object or matter or event is also possible for this word. It's broad, again, a broad range of meaning. Stoma, stomatos, ta. I always think of the word stomach in English, but in Greek, stoma means mouth, not stomach. So stomach may be helpful to remember it, but it is not the meaning of the word. hudor, hudatos. We have hydrants, in America, hydrants on the street for the fire department to hook up their hoses to. A hydrant, because that's where they get water. Hudor, hudatos, ta, the word for water. The word for light is phos, photos, ta. And we've had, again, this word is neuter, the light. A word for truth, aletheia, aletheas, hey. This is, look out, this is first declension, but it comes in the category of other words in vocabulary 14.2. So on that page, you have under other words, aletheia, aletheia, and the genitive aletheas, hey. It is alpha pure, and that's the reason the genitive is as and not ace. And notice Old MacDonald word now. E-I-E-I-ro. The stem ends in epsilon or iota in this case, or ro. It is alpha pure. So the genitive is as and not ace. True. Truth. True is the adjective. Alethes. And truth is the noun. Thronos, second declension noun. Thronos, thronu, genitive, Paul. Dr. McIver has included some first declension and second declension nouns so that we, again, keep the declensions separate in our minds between the first declension, the feminine words, the second declension, masculine or neuter words, and the third declension words that we are learning. The word for throne, thronos, very eudaios, eudaia, you die on. The word is used in the masculine for a Jew, or in the feminine for a Jewess, a feminine Jew, or also in the New Testament, an adjective, a Jewish festival or a Jewish celebration. It can be used for Judean, someone from the Roman province of Judea. Another first declension noun, cardia, the heart, the inner life of a person. Heart, cardia, it is also alpha pure, first declension, so the genitive is cardias. Hey, again, there are a few first or second declension nouns in our list. We have cardiologist, a doctor who works on a person's heart, from this word cardia. Makarios, makarion is an adjective that means blessed. It's often translated happy, and I really don't like this translation, happy or blessed. As someone has said, happy depends on happenings. Blessed depends upon God's presence. And we may not have the happenings that we like, but we always have God's presence. We are always, if we have received him, we are blessed. In the Septuagint, makarios is the Greek that translates the plural form, ashrei. Oh, the joys is literally the meaning of ashrei. Ashrei is the Hebrew letters. It's actually Psalm 1. Blessed is the man. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halak etzach rashaim. Ashrei, oh the joys. Blessed is our English translation. And in Greek, Makarios is actually a Greek translation of that Old Testament word of speaking of the joys primarily of the one who belongs to God, blessed. Notice it's an adjective, blessed, the blessed man, the blessed woman, the blessed child. So we could have masculine, feminine, and neuter forms. Men and de go together. Men and then de will follow in the sentence on the one hand, men on the one hand, de on the other. So the first part of the sentence will start with men and the second part with de. Or sometimes some men, others de. Hapu, where? And let's look at one verse before we finish. Ugar elabeta numa duleas palin es phobon al elabete numa weothesias en ho krazomen abba ho pater. Romans 8:15. For we have not received, who is fronted, we say, is placed forward in the sentence. For we have not received, we did not receive, to stay with the simple past for the aorist tense and the augment, which means past time, aorist with aoristem. You have not, you plural, have not received, or you did not receive a spirit of bondage. Doulos, slave. Douleia means bondage, slavery, a spirit of slavery, a spirit of bondage. Again, pollen, unto fear, es phobon, that leads to fear. For you did not receive a spirit of bondage, of slavery that leads to fear again, but you received a spirit, there's no article here, a spirit of sonship, of adoption. Weothesias, this is genitive, of adoption, of sonship, we could say. A spirit of sonship, a spirit of adoption, in which, this is a chapter 18 pronoun, in which we are crying, Papa, Abba, Pater. Abba, this is not put into the vocative because this word is in the vocative. Abba, Papa. And to this day, I think in Israel, a child will say to its father, Papa, Abba, sorry. In America, we say Papa or Daddy. But in Hebrew, they say Abba. And Paul used this term because he didn't really have a good one in Greek. Abba, pater, Papa, our Father. So we cry out to God as our Papa, which is something which, of course, the Jews never had and they will tell you this. You do not address God as Father, especially as Papa. You remain in the Old Testament. You can, in the Old Testament, address God as Father, but He is the Father of our people. But they're very careful to keep God in a very respectful way, and that is good. But we have to also remember that in the New Testament, we address God as Papa, which is never done in Judaism, never done from the Old Testament perspective. God is always high and lifted up and holy and to be feared. But we as Christians can address him as Papa. And we probably need to learn to do this because we have a spirit of sonship, a spirit of adoption. We have been adopted into a new family. We have a new identity in which we cry out, "Ekrazomen." So this ends our study. This ends our study and the second section on section 14.2. The second part, there are 3 parts in chapter 14 because they're so important that we learn the endings of the third declension nouns and of course of the adjectives that follow. And we will have 1 adjective next week in chapter 14.3 in section 3, in the third and final part of chapter 14. Please check your schedule. The most recent revised schedule is placed at the very top of the page, of the Moodle page. Please don't give up. Continue to work hard. It is hard to learn a language, but we want to learn Greek well. We want it to become a part of our souls. We want to enter into the world of the New Testament. We want to enter into the world of the Apostle Paul. We want to enter into the world of Jesus in his humanity, because we want to understand his humanity and his deity. And in order to do all of this, we need to learn the language. If I want to learn the language, to enter the heart of the people of Pakistan, I need to learn the language of Urdu or Punjabi. And if I were young again and could stay there on a longer term basis, I would certainly want to do so. But we all want to enter into the world of the Bible. And so we must learn its languages, in particular the language of the New Testament. So I thank God for all of you and for your attention and your diligence to this calling of learning this language. God bless you.